So back in 2012, when I first got involved in emergency preparedness, I was more focused on acquiring the latest and greatest survival gear over acquiring skills. I was watching all the YouTube reviews on the hottest survival items at that time and making purchases upon people's opinions as opposed to my own experience. And the result of that was me jamming a massive bag in the back of the car thinking I'd be able to carry it in the case of SHTF, when in all reality I would have been ditching most of that gear within the first mile. So the problem was I hadn't clarified the concept of the bag I was putting in my car. I had heard a lot about bug out bags, but didn't necessarily know where I'd be bugging out to, or go bags, or get out of Dodge bags, whatever you guys want to call them. But each one of those bags have their own concept. And it actually wasn't until quite recently where I had to clarify the concept behind why I was putting a bag in my car to begin with. What was it that I was exactly preparing for? Is it practical to try to prepare for every single scenario that may hit you? Or was it better to narrow the scope of the bag so that it would accomplish a specific task? So today I'm going to give you my opinion regarding a get home bag. And I want you to keep those words in mind. Get home bag. The bag we're going to be covering is not my doomsday survival bag. It is not my get out of Dodge bag. It's not an active shooter bag, and it is definitely not a vehicle maintenance bag. So let's talk about concept and context. For me, the concept of a get home bag is right there in the name. Get home. The name implies mobility and consistency of movement. Again, this is not a long-term survival bag, bug out bag, or bushcrafting bag. So some of the items that you may expect to see in a bag might not be there. And though I do own bushcraft items and survival items, those are stored at home. This bag is meant to get me from a place of vulnerability to the place of security, which is my home. So now that we have the role and the purpose of the bag clearly defined, let's ask this question. What is it that I need to get home in the quickest and most efficient manner from the furthest commonly traveled distance? When I say furthest commonly traveled distance, the emphasis there is on commonly traveled. Meaning if your workplace is the furthest place from your house that you go on a normal basis, or if you're frequently going to an airport, or if the furthest place that you travel on a semi-consistent basis is like a shopping mall or something like that, those are the places that this bag is meant to prepare you for. So that question that I posed, what is it that I need to get home in a quick and efficient manner from the furthest commonly traveled distance? The answer to that will help you clarify your context. Now, when I began my preparedness journey, I actually lived in Eastern Pennsylvania. I lived in a bit of a populated area, but outside of a major city. And so there were considerations that set the context for my bug out bag then that don't really apply where I live now. Obviously, in the northeastern United States, it gets cold for a large portion of the year. And so there was a heavy emphasis in my bag on shelter and warmth. But now, I don't live in that latitude anymore. I live down in the tropics, which is why you're seeing some mosquitoes fly in front of the camera. So my context has changed. Everything from temperature to climate, even elevation, because I live up in the mountains. Furthermore, the furthest commonly traveled distance for me has actually extended. Back when I lived in the United States, my job and my home were in very close proximity to one another. And very rarely was I going shopping more than a half hour away from my house. And the closest airport that I lived to was about an hour away. But now that I live outside of the United States, I actually have more visitors coming to see me. So I find myself frequently traveling to the airport, which is about 2 to 2.5 hours away. And that's 2.5 hours by driving. Given the terrain I have to go through to get home on foot from that airport, we're now talking about a 3 or 4 day journey. So my concept behind this get home bag is getting home from that furthest distance quickly and efficiently. And my context of living in the tropics has actually set the tone for what goes in this bag. And I want to be clear about that point because you can watch a variety of opinions on YouTube regarding what should go into a get home bag when some of those items do not fit your context. So define your concept of a get home bag and make sure you fill it according to your context. So expanding upon the idea of your context, what you want to do is make sure you play out the scenarios in which you would utilize this get home bag. Now for me, some of the scenarios where I would use this get home bag are as follows. I live in an area that is prone to earthquakes, and if there's a massive earthquake that breaks and shuts down freeways, I may have to throw my bag on and hoof it home. Given that my closest airport is in a major metropolitan area, that means it's just like any other city susceptible to riots and protests. And if that leads into civil unrest where it shuts down modes of transportation, then again, I might be throwing this bag on and getting back home as soon as possible. And given that I live 2 to 2.5 hours outside of a major metropolitan area, those places tend to be targets of terrorist attacks and maybe even eventually an EMP. And let me tell you that the last place you want to be during a situation like that is around a highly populated area. So your concept, your context, and plausible scenarios are what sets the parameters of what goes in your get home bag. So now let's take a look at my get home bag. This is the Fjallraven Haul Pack #1. Now, I've owned quite a few bags ever since I started prepping, but what I wanted from this bag was something that stylistically fit more of an outdoor hiking motif. Given that I live in an area with that type of hiking and mountainous recreation, it kind of fits in. It's not super tactical and it doesn't draw attention to itself. Plus, I noticed that this bag is actually wider than the average backpack, and I'm a bit of a big dude myself. I'm 6'1", 230. And so I often have a hard time finding backpacks that fit my shoulder width. Plus, this G1000 fabric is super durable and somewhat water resistant. And you can even add wax to this fabric and make it even more water resistant, which I may do in the future because we do have a rainy season down here. But it's a great bag that doesn't draw too much attention to itself. It's big enough to fit everything that I need in it, but not so big that I'm tempted to stuff more junk inside. So when filling a bag like this, I tend to keep in mind the Sensible Preppers or Such 00's rule of threes. And those rules of threes are: you can survive 3 seconds without hope, 3 minutes without air, 3 hours in inclement weather, 3 days without water, and 3 weeks without food. And this rule of threes became the hierarchy of priorities of what I was gonna put in this bag. Now, before we look at everything that's in here, note, I am not gonna sell you on specific items or brands. These items are more representative of categories of things that I feel like I need in a bag like this. So if you see something in this bag that you like but may not have the budget for it or may want something a little more expensive, feel free to do so. The key thing is that you have that category of gear covered within your get home bag. So this logo pocket right here is where I keep my first aid gear. So in this pocket is where I keep my trauma kit, a pen, a glow stick, as well as a cat tourniquet. I have been trained in first aid as well as stop the bleed, so you want to make sure whatever gear you have in here, you know how to use. Now, originally I bought this as a pre-made trauma kit, but I ended up packing it out with things that I chose. Everything from SWAT T tourniquets to compressed gauze. There's a combat bandage back there, gloves, and in the far back there's some chest seals, as well as a Sharpie to mark down on the tourniquet when it was applied. And there's also a little potassium iodide in there. Tourniquet, again, if you're going to be carrying one of these, please get the training. And the glow stick and the pen go right in here because there's 2 nice pockets that fit them. Now let's see what's in this other pocket. So in this pouch, I have a single monocular and I have a compass. This little tool pouch is my fire kit. And in here I have everything from a standard big lighter to my Exotac ferro rod. Down here I got some lifeboat matches, a little whistle to get people's attention, a backup compass just to verify my heading, and a little signal mirror. That all goes right there in my fire pouch. And as you can see, there's an interior pocket right here. And in that pocket, I keep a little bit of bug spray because again, I live in the tropics and the mosquito season is brutal out here. Also in that pocket is a Leatherman Skeletool, great lightweight tool, but has a lot of capabilities. And lastly is a flashlight that's a little bit bigger than your average EDC flashlight, even though it's called the EDC something or other. Yeah, the EDC 33 by Nitecore. But I like this because it has a lockout switch, so if it gets bumped in the bag, it's not going to turn on. And this thing definitely has some throw to it. All these things fit nicely in these 2 front pockets, and I find them important enough to have them readily accessible. So now let's check out the side compartments. And in this case, it's the Ka-Bar Turok. Now, whatever fixed blade you end up choosing for your get-home bag, make sure that it's a full tang fixed blade, meaning that the metal goes all the way down through the handle scales. And make sure that the steel you choose, like this 1095 Crowvan, is something that is durable and easy to maintain. I chose this one because it kind of fits the balance between something that could do woods work as well as something that could fill a defensive role. And it has one of the best stock sheaths in the game. So that gets stashed right here in that side pocket. Now on the other side, I have my water container. And this is just a simple, single-walled stainless steel water container. Now this one's from Pathfinder School, which is Dave Canterbury's school. But if you can find yourself a single-wall stainless steel water container, that means you can actually boil the water inside the container. Obviously, you'll have to remove the plastic cap first. As you can tell, it's empty right now. I don't keep this filled, but I always have water in my car. And that goes right here, back in the side pocket. Now this main compartment has a sleeve back here, a little pocket right here, and then just a main dump pouch. Now in this little top pocket right here is where I keep my backup power bank, as well as my headlamp. In this back sleeve, which I think is designed for a laptop, is where I keep this tarp. And it's a tarp, an emergency survival blanket. One side of it is this color, so it's great for camouflage. The other side is actually that emergency blanket reflective material, so that it could actually reflect heat back to my body, as well as be used for signaling since it is reflective. So whether I want to go stealth or whether I want to be noticed, this can fit both roles. In this main pouch is where I keep my food bag. Now you notice I don't have any like backpacking freeze-dried foods. Again, my intention is to get home as quick as possible with this bag. So all of the food is stuff you can open, eat, and keep going, as well as some emergencies and some electrolyte tablets. Because I live at elevation, hiking will take a lot of hydration out of you. Is it going to be comfortable eating these foods? No. But will it fuel me to get home? Yes. And it will do so in a quick and efficient manner. Now this little brown bag is first aid as well, and I say brown for boo-boo, right? It's just kind of how I remember things. And in here is just a collection of more of your standard first aid things. Not stuff for trauma or for excessive bleeding, but just to keep going. Some moleskins in there, another emergency blanket, Band-Aids, a little pair of shears, as well as a few basic medications. This green Hitch and Timber wax canvas pouch is kind of like my utility pouch. And here I have some toilet paper, because when you gotta go, you gotta go. An old credit card wrapped up with some duct tape. I have this little Esbit stove that I've had forever, and I just love the way it works. Inside it are some Esbit fire tablets, and I keep it in a Ziploc bag because those tablets smell like fish for some reason. I also have a Life Straw water filter here. Even though I have a canteen that I could boil water in, if I find a water source, I can fill up that water container and just drink it straight through the straw out of the container or out of that water source, especially if I don't have the time to sit down and build a fire. And at the bottom, I actually have some 550 paracord, and this I believe is fire cord, so it actually has an inner strand that can be pulled out and help you with starting a fire. Now also, towards the bottom of the bag, I actually have a little emergency bivvy. And between this, the paracord that I have in that utility pouch, and this tarp back here, I could put up a very simple shelter very quickly. One that is easy to take down very quickly as well. And lastly, at the bottom of the bag, I have a shemagh, I have an extra pair of socks, as well as some gloves. And that's it. That's everything I have in my Get Home bag. Now, I also leave a good amount of space in my Get Home bag because I'm always carrying my EDC sling. And in the case of emergency, I could actually fit my EDC sling into my Get Home bag. And that way I'll have a few redundancies of some of these items. And also that space is good for anything you may collect along the way. And to me, these items answer the question that I posed at the beginning. What do I need to get home in a quick and efficient manner from my furthest commonly traveled distance? The total weight of all of this gear and my bag, minus the weight of any water in there, is right about 11 pounds. And to me, that seems like a reasonable amount of weight that I could carry for a long distance. So what do you guys think? Go ahead and sound off in the comments below. Would you add more to this Get Home bag? Do you think I'm missing something? What do you have in your Get Home bag, and what is your specific context? It's always good to have an open and cordial discussion regarding these topics, as that could be a source of learning as well. And if you enjoy this video, feel free to share it with your friends, hit that like button, and subscribe to this channel for more videos just like this. But until next time, God bless and peace.